This is Creepy and Geeky, a part of the Morbidly Beautiful Podcast Network. Welcome to Creepy and Geeky. I'm your host, Robert, and today's episode is an annual holiday tradition here on the show. Both of my kids have returned to talk about some Christmas horror, specifically the 2012 loose remake of Silent Night, Deadly Night, simply titled Silent Night, and the 2022 Silent Night inspired Christmas Bloody Christmas. Welcome back to the show, Harrison and Katrina.
Hi.
Good to be back.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on for another holiday horror episode. I like to have this as our, yearly tradition. We're just kind of making our way through the Silent Night movies. I think at this point we're kind of done. So between the loose remake and an inspired by movie, I think at this point pretty much done, and we can start in on some other holiday horror stuff next year. So.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to let this die.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
If there isn't more Silent Nights lurking out there in the universe.
Yeah, I feel like it's a never-ending thing of Silent Nights.
Honestly, I think there could be a really good remake done of the movie. If somebody really could get the story done well. There is a good movie that could be done with the bones of at least the first two movies. I think you could make a really good movie off of those two alone. So,
well, considering the second one was mostly the first one, I would say that it's only the first one.
True. But yeah. No, I think there could be a good movie made of that, and both of these are very inspired by more than anything else. They're not really like the 2012 remake is not really a remake at all. There's nothing at all in it. There's a couple of little nods here and there to it, but that's and we'll get to that. But yeah, let's go ahead and jump right in. We're going to start with the 2012 loose remake of this. This is with Jamie King and Malcolm McDowell. Donald Logue is in this. It's a the funny thing is both of these movies I liked way better than any of the Silent Night, Deadly Night movies we've seen up until this point.
Yes.
So
I might be the foil on this episode then.
That's just because you like the body horror one with the bugs.
When aren't you the foil, Harrison?
That's very true. No, I mean, the favorite of mine is still the first one, to be frank. But yeah, I'll get into my challenges with these two.
All right. Well, this one is about a killer Santa who seems to be going around just willy-nilly killing people who are naughty, but never says the word naughty. This one is a guy who wears a mask over his face that's got like a plastic mask in the top half and has fake beard underneath. It's actually a cool mask. I actually really appreciated that. It really looked creepy and cool in that way. But overall, I thought, to me, this one was fun in a way. Like, as much as I say they were better than the other ones for me, they were still just kind of middle of the road in terms of anything. They didn't blow me away or anything. They were just okay. They weren't bad, but they weren't great either. So I'm still waiting for a good killer Santa movie. But these weren't quite it. These are getting closer though, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you guys think overall? Harrison?
So for me, if we're just talking about the remake right now,
yes,
I thought that it was decent. Like I thought that it was a decent remake. It was much more of a more modern film in comparison to
Right.
the previous ones because there is somewhat of a time gap between the last one that was made and this remake. Uh, I appreciated the references when they made them. I do appreciate the look of the Santa. The Santa was a very scary presence. I thought that the kills were creative. I thought that the plot was. I think the plot was creative enough to pull off the Killer Santa plot. And I think that there's definitely something to the narrative in this film. I just think that it was brought down by a few things that I'll get into a little bit later.
Okay. What did you think, Katrina?
One thing I really quick want to point out. You said that you're waiting for a good Killer Santa movie. There is a very good Killer Santa movie called Violent Night.
Well, okay, but I don't consider that a horror movie. That's more of an action movie for me.
I guess.
Yeah. So that's the only reason why I exclude it, because I feel like it's more of an action film instead of a straight up horror movie. Because there's nothing really horror centric going on it. But I do agree with you that that is a fantastic movie. But back to your thoughts, on this movie.
I I enjoyed it more than the original.
Right.
Sure. Comparing this movie to the other movie that we're going to be talking about later, I like it less. I think that this one has a problem with its main characters in that I don't find them compelling. And so I was kind of disengaged while watching it because I didn't really like it wasn't I don't know if it was the writing or the acting or I don't know. I just didn't feel connected to the story of the characters. And so when events happened in the film that were supposed to make you be like, oh, poor character, I didn't really get it. But if we're talking about the killer, I thought that the killer was very well done in that I do love my fair share of non-speaking, for the most part, villains who don't have a motive for the most part.
Right.
So
you are a fan
if
of
you
the
don't know
Michael
what
Myers.
I was gonna say, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you don't know how much I love Michael Myers. But so this movie, like, it really like gave me that kind of like he had that kind of like Michael Myers feeling about him sometimes, and I was just like, ooh, ooh, like, and I like it too because he's in plain sight because it's Christmas time and there's tons of Santas everywhere.
Yeah,
he's just carrying an axe. So, but you could explain it like, oh, he's just gonna help a family chop some wood, maybe. I don't know. Like, but I don't know. I liked the villain more. I felt like he was more compelling than the heroines, which is not, I don't think, how you're supposed to feel after watching a horror movie, but that's how I felt. So,
yeah. No, I don't think you're supposed to feel like that. But I mean, but there's lots of movies where we root for the villain. I mean, Chucky, Jason, Michael Myers, all of them we root for the villain.
Do we root for Chucky?
I mean,
are we supposed to?
I mean, I don't think we're ever supposed to root for the killer, but I'm pretty sure we do anyway.
Okay.
So I mean, that's the whole point of watching these movies, is to watch them kill people. So,
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, people don't watch the Scream movies for
no, I think
maybe some do.
I think that one's one of the few that because it's had the same person, the same group of people the whole time. Yes, you're looking for the kills in that one. You're rooting for Ghostface, but you're also rooting for Sydney to beat Ghostface.
Forget I said that. Sydney's like literally the main fucking point of the fucking Scream franchise. So yeah. Forget I said that.
No, I mean I could see both of your point of views on that. Like I definitely did not feel like Jamie King's character was that overly compelling in the movie, and Malcolm McDowell's sheriff was very over the top. So it was fun, but that made him kind of fun for me. Even though he's
It
hamming
was
it
just a
up.
mix of tones for
It
me with
it
the
was,
movie. It
yeah.
was
It was
we
very
have the
clashing.
we have
Yeah.
the serious character who's got like internal drama and some kind of conflict in terms of her self-worth, juxtaposed with this like hyper masculine, uh like hyper hyper portrayed sheriff by Malcolm McDowell.
Right.
And and I'll bring the I was going to bring this up later, but it's important to also bring up now. The one thing I was going to mention that is also Scream related about this film is there's like they did this weird thing where they almost kind of did a Dewey like sting every time Malcolm McDowell's character said like a
Really?
cool action line. Like
Did they?
he
I didn't
I
yeah,
think
notice
I
that.
mentioned I think I
yeah.
mentioned to did I mention it to you, Dad, that I thought that the Giles or whatever reminded me of Dewey a little bit?
I'm not sure,
Oh
maybe.
no. What? Okay. Anyway,
It was just kind of
uh
like that
Yeah, I can
goofy
see it.
kind of thing.
he
And
did
I can
not
see
then
come
how
off as goofy to me.
oh
the other guy, the other deputy, he came off
No.
as
yeah, the one who's
like
kind of
not
stupid.
not in a
No,
good way goofy. He came off as stupid.
he came off as completely incompetent.
Yeah, no, that was, I mean, that was kind of the point. Like, I think that, I get where Katrina's seeing it, like just the goofier aspects of
Yeah,
like
but I've never seen
Dewey.
Dewey as incompetent. But anyway,
No, no.
we're talking about a whole nother movie here. But but yeah, but every time that Malcolm McDowell's character
There
did
were
like a
sprinkles.
like a I told you I would catch him kind of line, like it
Yeah,
always did this like bow dow 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 bow kind of
I didn't
action
notice that.
sting. And it was the same
Did not
action
notice that
sting
either.
every time. And so it was something where I was picking up on it and I was like, is this a Scream homage or what's happening here?
I mean, it could have
Um,
been.
and so but no, I completely agree that the characters were completely unlikable. I was actually walking away from this movie hoping that everyone would die and we would see the killer walk out of the town like with it burning in a
Yeah,
blaze behind them.
I don't think this movie needed to have a survivor. Like
Yeah, no,
in all
when she,
honesty, like it didn't feel like that kind of movie.
it was a more like if it had ended with maybe the possibility of like a joint death between the main character and the Killer Santa, and then Killer Santa getting away in the end, but the other protagonist did not. Like that would have been more satisfying. Like if we got the same ending like we got, where he's
We
in the
could
truck,
write this
where
movie.
he's in the truck, and then we get the flashback, but the main character's dead. I would have enjoyed this movie 1,000 times more. But having the main
Ouch. You guys are
character,
cold, man. I didn't think
it's
she was
just
that bad. I like, my like
no. I mean, she's
they were
pretty
just
bad.
they were just bland. It wasn't even that they were bad
Yeah,
characters or anything. It was just bland. But I think that, the point of her arc was supposed to be that she actually is a good cop. She should trust her instincts, and she is, and it was her that kind of figured everything out along the way, you know, despite her,
I mean,
a-hole
she shot a
sheriff.
guy in the
no,
head.
I don't know. No, she's not a good cop. She followed multiple false leads until she made every mistake she could have until she stumbled upon the right answer. No, that's
Okay,
she's
well, I
not a good
mean,
cop.
if you watch any kind of cop show or anything like that, that's pretty much par for the course. They always like go
Yeah,
from
but that
clue to
doesn't
clue
make
to
you a
clue.
good cop. Like if you're a good
Well,
cop, you should
okay,
hopefully
what I'm
catch the
saying
person
though,
before it's done. But anyway,
anyway,
like yeah, no, it's she like
I don't
for the viewers of home who have not seen this movie. The primary protagonist is a police officer who is a woman in a hypermasculine police department who basically writes her off as the daughter of the, I assume, former police chief that was retired.
Yeah, I'm not
And
sure.
there's a few like early jokes about police brutality that pretty much send the characters over the deep end of I don't care about you. And then moving forward through the movie, she stumbles into multiple situations where she finds a lead, thinks it's this guy, finds out that it's not that guy, thinks it's that guy again, captures that guy, and then maybe that's not that guy. So let me go out and go find this other guy I thought it was earlier, and then kill that guy. And then I'm going to realize in the moment I killed a man that I was wrong the entire time, and it's actually like a whole nother thing. Meanwhile, nobody knew who it was. She's a terrible cop. Everyone in this town is a terrible cop. Like, and no, I mean, everyone in this town was a terrible person. That's the reason why this killer Santa came in and killed everyone, was because
All
that it was a
right,
terrible
all
town.
right,
And so,
all right.
no, I like for me, the whole movie was basically trying to like have you have no sympathy for anybody inside of this town. So that way, when they're killed, you're like, oh yeah, all of these people are naughty people. That makes total sense why this killer Santa's going around killing all these people. And then
I can
the
see
like
that. I can see
punctuation
that.
mark
I can
on
see
that
what Harrison is
is him
saying.
saying not nice, is saying not nice to that one guy, because then that's the like if you didn't get it moment where it's the like the director or writer basically going like, hey, if you didn't get, all these people aren't nice, and that's why the Santa's killing everybody. And
No,
it's
I
like,
got
yeah, of
that. It's
course, that's exactly what's going on.
no, exactly. I mean,
But yeah,
it's not
so
very veiled. I mean, it's not like it's like it wasn't a very complex, you know, character
I didn't
driven
think of the
thing. And what were you going to say, Katrina?
I didn't think of the film as that like all of the characters were naughty. I just thought the writing sucked, but it makes more sense now that all the characters are naughty, and that's the point. And that's
Yeah.
why I didn't like them. And why I liked
yeah,
the villain more. That makes a lot more sense because I was like, this isn't like a terrible movie, but why don't I
it's,
like the main character?
it's because you weren't supposed to. The whole movie is expecting you to think of all of these people as terrible people, and so then that way when like the I think the idea of the movie is like oh, people can become better, people can be better people, but nobody becomes a better person by the end. Like everybody's still a terrible fucking person. The clerk and the girl cop that we follow throughout the film, girl clerk is gossiping and like basically like just sharing people's personal details with each other inside of this small town. And then the girl cop is going around basically like badgering people on the streets and basically only protecting the people that are. But yeah, in any case, it's a
I mean, I
movie, it's a movie that is rough to get through because none of the characters are like.
see, and
And
I don't see it that way. I think you're being a little rough on both the main character, Jamie King's character, and the receptionist. The receptionist, yes, she's a gossip, but it's how she gains information to help them. You know what I mean? It's not just a, that's kind of a cop thing to do. Is just like, listening to people talk and, waiting, or not even just a cop thing to do, but just like a person thing to do when you want to gather information. You just
Gossips are the
listen to
best
people.
tipsters.
Yeah. So, I mean, it was kind of her job to do what she was doing. And, the main cop, I get that you don't like her and everything like that, but I don't think she was necessarily a bad person. She was a person struggling with the death of her husband and, trying to become a good cop there and trying to do the best she could. Yes, she obviously made mistakes as you lined out for everybody. But I think ultimately she was still coming from a good place. She was wanting to find the killer and was doing everything she could despite being hampered by her boss and, everybody else around her. So I mean, I get, like, don't get me wrong, everybody else was a terrible person. Don't, everybody else was a terrible person. But I think that, at least her, while she may not have been great, she also wasn't terrible. She wasn't like, you know, at the very most, you could say she made bad judgments in, like, at least in terms of like jailing the one guy. She was spot on with the other dude. The other dude was going to kill her, so it's like, it's I don't know. I get your point. I think you're being a little harsh, but that's up to you,
I
but
just like I took umbrage at the statement that she was a good cop. That's
okay,
the
yeah.
thing I took
I
umbrage of,
I
because
think I
she's
was
not.
trying to say
She's
she
not a
was
good cop.
trying to be a good cop. She
Yeah.
was following the leads, making mistakes, because that's what you do. You follow leads. You follow lead until you get to this point, and then once you find out new information, then you follow the other lead. You know what I mean? Like, so sometimes you're going to follow a lead down an alleyway that takes you down the wrong way. And then you got to go, okay, well, this is obviously, when she jailed Donald Logue's character, she did the wrong thing, not knowing at that point. She's like, well, it fits these clues currently, you know, and then once new clues come in, then things can change,
Well,
so it's
and
just
I don't know if this was the case, but I personally took this movie as a commentary on police structure, and in terms of how police run an investigation and how it is inefficient. Because throughout the entire
I
movie,
mean,
she's spending her
I'm sure you could
time.
see it partially that way. Yes. I don't think that was the whole purpose of the movie itself, but yes.
Well, I mean, to a degree, it might be, because during the movie, there's multiple instances in which they follow, like, basically police profiling protocol, where they go like, oh, it's got to be someone that they knew. Like the whole thing about how they're like she opened the door to the motel, so she must have knew him. And I'm like,
Right.
no, like that's ridiculous. Like that's absolutely ridiculous reasoning that has no basis in reality or fact or anything, like any form of assumption. and and the but that's the kind of
Jesus.
but that's the
I
kind of
know.
thing that's
He's so harsh.
it's I this movie had some problems. I told you. And
Yeah,
so,
but you're finding the problems in it. Like, normally, like, I don't, I disagree with you on that. Like, I think that there are people who would not open the door for somebody if they didn't know who they were. You know what I mean? Like, by and large, especially if you're doing something that you're just like, okay, well, why would they open the door for somebody who they don't know currently at this
I was in the
point?
same boat that I was like, well, why wouldn't they open the door? Because like the thing is that like my initial thinking was maybe they thought it was that one girl coming back
Yeah.
which is
to
what they
like get
thought.
something,
Yeah, and I'm not
or
saying that
or
you were wrong. It's just like, you're like, well,
but
they
I
were
can
just obviously super
understand.
wrong, and they shouldn't be thinking like that. It was like, but I mean, that is kind of how some people think, though.
I can
Is just
understand
that.
their thinking though without having that like video camera at that point. I think that all they knew was that it was like a porn thing and a
Yeah,
nudity photo shoot, and that maybe they wouldn't open the door because that's something private that they're trying to
right,
do.
No,
So I
and
can
that's
get both
what kind of came
sides.
that oh in large part, the amount of time wasted by the police inside this movie is due to bad assumptions. And I don't think that that's an accident in terms of the writing. I think it might be a plot device in order to keep the movie moving, but it it is somewhat it happens often enough that it feels intentional, to where there's multiple instances where the police are assuming things incorrectly, egregiously incorrectly. And as an audience member, you can kind of go like, what? Like, who would even who would even do this? But that's how the police work, is they work on assumptions. They work on profiling, they work on assumptions, because that's the only thing that works for them, because they are so, like, for lack of a better word, like they're not trained. Police aren't trained to solve crimes. Like that's not what they're trained for. And this movie kind of displays that is that police are very reactionary groups of people inside of our society. And so there's no chance for them to stop anything. There's the police are always there to
Well, you
just
just
show
said
up
that
after it's
they're not
done.
trained to solve crimes, but they're not trained to prevent crimes. They're trained
Exactly.
to, but you
Exactly.
didn't say that. You said they're not trained to
Okay.
solve crimes, but they're
All right.
not trained to prevent crimes. You said the wrong thing and then went backwards. So
Either in either
I just
I
wanted
mean
you to
both statements are
clarify.
true. Both statements are
I just
true.
wanted you to
They're
clarify
not trained
because
to
you
either
went from
solve or prevent
solving and then
crimes.
you said they can't prevent it. So
I
that's
think
those are
there's
two
enough true
separate
crime
things.
podcasts out there to know that they're not trained to solve crimes.
Okay. Well, regardless.
I just
Anyway,
wanted
I
to
don't want to
clarify.
get too much into the politics of all this and everything else
I
like
mean,
that.
this isn't even politics. It's just that
No.
this is
Oh
what
my
happened in
God.
the movie.
I understand, but you're getting into kind of the weeds of politics of cops. Don't do this, don't do that. Like, I want to just talk about the movie. Like,
It's kind of hard when the movie's about cops.
the movie is about a killer Santa.
Yes.
Anyway, so anyway,
I mean, if you think I'm
I'm
getting
tired
riled
of
up
this.
about this one,
I'm
you
getting
don't want
tired
me
of
to
this
talk about the second
conversation.
one. Because the second one, I'm gonna be up to 11.
Pearson,
okay. So just as a quick thing, can I have a preview of what you're going to say about the next one so I can know whether or not we should even continue this?
Oh, I did not like that movie at all.
Okay, but
I found the characters completely unlikable the same way of this one, and was rooting for the killer to kill them in the same way.
okay. All right. Well, again, I don't have a problem with that. Like let's just get down to it. Like that's fine. You know, that's what we I mean, again, like I said before, that's what we do with these movies. We watch these movies to get people to watch people get massacred. Like that's literally what we watch these movies for. I don't know anybody. I mean, maybe you guys are watching them wrong, but you know, I'm not typically, sure, I want at least somebody to live at the end of it, but I'm like, I'm okay if everybody dies, depending on the situation of the movie and everything. And in both of these movies, literally almost everybody dies, in both of these. Like they're both small towns and literally every main character's in it who is dead by the end of it, except for one or two. Um, and that's what you want in a killer Santa movie or a killer movie anyway. So,
No, I mean
that's
I know what genre we're watching. Like I fully understand what genre we're watching. It's just that when you watch a horror movie, like for example, like The Thing or Alien um or even Halloween or Jason, like you like there's a reason why there's the whole like trope of the virgin escaping the killer is that you have the virtuous character, the one that has morals, has some kind of relatability to the audience and is not a completely terrible person or just completely annoying by the end of the film, in that you hope that they get out and that you hope they escape. And that's where the whole culture of the final girl comes from. That's why we love Sidney Prescott. That's why we love Ripley. That's why we love the two at the end of The Thing. And it's for me, both of these films make their protagonists so either incompetent or annoying by the end of the film that you just don't care. And that is a problem. Like it that's for me, watching a horror movie, you at least want to root for one person, but by the end I wasn't rooting for anybody.
I get it. I agree with you to the most. Like I agree to the most extent that none of the characters were ultimately likable. And that it wasn't. I still wanted to see at least the person live just to beat him because that's what you want to do. For the most part, like I had no problem with either of these people surviving to the end and killing and or beating the bad guy at the end. But Katrina, I want to hear your opinions because Harrison's been uh talking a lot. So let's get your side of the conversation on both of these.
What the fuck do you mean?
Like, do you agree with what Harrison's saying about these characters? Did you care about them? Did you what, you know, I I don't know what I'm asking.
I
I
think
want to know
both
your side.
movies didn't do enough for me to be able to have a connection to the characters. And so I wasn't rooting for the villain in either of the movies, but and especially in the Christmas Bloody Christmas one, I wasn't rooting for the robot because it's a robot. I don't want a military fucking weapon being turned into a toy, for one, and then going on a rampage killing people and also killing a young boy. That fucking scene killed me. I don't like movies that kill children. I'm just gonna say. I don't like that kind of stuff. That fucked
And
me
both
up.
and both of these
And
movies have
so
that.
I know they did. The other little girl deserved it though. But
Uh,
I just I have a different opinion from Harrison in just that I didn't think that the characters were compelling, whereas Harrison finds them like annoying and terrible people. I just didn't find them to be compellingly written characters. But I guess you can say we're on the same wavelength, but I also wasn't rooting for the killer.
Right.
I'm definitely I don't think that the robot was a fucking compelling character. I'm going to tell you that right now
Well,
because I
no.
couldn't get past the fact that it was a guy in a suit because that was really fucking getting to me. Was that it was very obviously a guy in a suit who could not act like a robot. The
Okay.
the only thing they did in post was add whirring sounds to the Foley. It was bullshit. So I for
Ay.
Christmas Bloody Christmas, it was fine. It was a good movie. It had me like on the edge of my seat, like, oh my God, get out of there. I had less gripes with it as a horror movie than I did with the Silent Night one, because Silent Night I had problems with some of the things that they were saying, and it was the tones were off, and the fucking girl running naked was like stupid. Why was she running like that? Get your arms in motion, girl. Stop fucking flailing them. You don't have to fall on the fucking ground. And so I I had more problems with that one than I did with Christmas Bloody Christmas. So if I were to rewatch one of them, it would be Christmas Bloody Christmas, just because it was more fun to me than anything. Whereas
Right.
the Silent Night one had me very confused from start to finish.
So while I know that we all don't think the main characters are all that compelling or interesting or good or whatever, the killer in this one, I feel like it's it's almost like they really kind of took the motivation of the first one in the first one and just this, Santa killed, you know, his parents and everything like that, and that's what messed him up. And in this one,
Mm-hmm.
we get the reveal at the end that her dad, who was a former cop, killed her dad, his dad, the killer's dad,
Yeah.
and it set him on fire after he killed his mother, after the dad killed the mother. So there's this whole weird motivation behind all this, which is, again, it's like this weird, you know whatever psychosis this
Mm-hmm.
person had that caused all of this. And so I just was like, when it was revealed at the end, I was just kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that's the motivation, but
I
I was
didn't
kind of really let down by it, especially because I don't think we ever were introduced to this character before in the movie. Did we ever see this character as an adult anywhere in the movie before?
not as an adult. they did a little flashback sequence. The guy in the bar who she ended up shooting in the head, he was talking about that whole thing, and you saw
Right.
the child in that sequence.
Yeah.
But it was really only focusing on the parents, which I like any news story would focus more on the parents because like the child lived, so like why focus on the survivor?
Right.
Like, you know. So, but I was in the same way. Like we watched it together the whole entire time. I was like, oh, it's this guy. Oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's her dad.
And then
Like,
it was like
no, I
nobody
was
we'd
wrong.
seen
It
before.
didn't give any hints at all to who this guy was. And yeah, it was chock full of like red herrings, which I guess is the point, but I wish
Yeah.
they would have made it more like breadcrumby in
Right.
making it that like, yeah, there's these red herrings, but if you go back and rewatch it, you can find all of these pieces of who this guy actually is, but there
Right.
was never any breadcrumbs.
Right.
Like I
Yeah. No, it
watched it
was.
again when Harrison was watching it, and there were no breadcrumbs. I even watched that whole scene in the bar again, no breadcrumbs. It was a completely one-off sequence. So
Yeah.
I don't. That was an
I
entirely
don't
completely
I don't
like
know if I was a little more observant, but
Okay.
I did catch a couple things on along the
ooh,
way of the movie.
do tell.
First thing that happens in the movie is he shaves his beard. So I knew that it was none of the characters that have a beard.
Right.
Ooh, interesting catch.
Um, and and so for the most part, most characters had a beard.
Yeah.
So
But
Yeah,
I
again,
knew
that's
that
fair.
but
it
again,
was
this is where it
nobody
was
in the town.
frustrating. Yeah, but this is where it was frustrating was because like they do that, they show you, oh, it's nobody with a beard, but then you never see this guy ever. There's no like maybe he was in the background at some point or something like that, but it was never pointed out like that this could
Yeah.
possibly be the guy. Like Katrina said, there were red herrings, but he was never one of the red herrings. Usually it's a character that's in there. It reminds me of Friday the 13th Part 5 where the killer isn't Jason. It's the only one where well it's one of two that isn't Jason. Um but it's this other guy who you see in the very beginning and never see again. And like there's no like you find out his motivation later,
A
sure.
lot of
But it's
movies
like
do that,
but
but
why?
they do it better.
Well, because they try
Like,
to leave you some actual clues.
yeah.
Were there any
They're like,
more,
wait,
Harrison? Sorry
Oh
that you
no.
saw besides that one?
So there was that, and then during the flashback sequence, that introduced us to the idea that there was some kind of a killer Santa at some point, either in this town or another town.
Right.
And then later on in the film, her father tells her that it's not the first time that they've had to deal with a bad Santa.
Right.
And that to me implied that he's had to interact with a bad Santa before, which clued me in on that he was probably the police officers that responded to the scene of that murder spree,
Right.
of the flame throwing Santa. And so when it was revealed that it was her father, I wasn't surprised. Like it wasn't something
Right.
where I was like, oh, of
No,
course,
yeah.
of course it's her dad. To me, just on the whole topic of the ending and the reveal of who the killer was,
yeah.
I actually really liked it. It was one of the better things of the movie for me. Anytime that they actually referenced the original two movies, I was actually having a great time. Because
Right.
I prefer those movies over a lot of the other ones.
Well, you
And
definitely liked those movies more than I did. So it
yes,
it
Yeah.
makes sense. Yeah, I think I'm the most I don't know. Like I hate those movies. So
Well,
well, and
I'm just kind of in the middle with both of those two as well. So I'm just like,
for me, the first one has always had the best motivation for the psychosis, and
Sure.
and and also there's just like there's been it was like small things, like there were small homages to the first film about how like he goes to a Catholic church, like, and he kills the pastor inside of the Catholic church and stuff like that. And there was little things along the way that were kind of cluing me in that they might be going for a like same killer motivation that
Right.
they did in the original. Um, and when it was finally revealed that yes, it was a like killer Santa who killed his parents, but also like there's the added element of that the police were involved with the death.
Right.
It adds to that kind of like Santa psychosis that this character has had. Also just yeah, no, it's just for me the ending actually kind of sold the movie to me, which it seems like
No.
it kind of did the opposite for you guys.
No, I didn't have a problem with the ending and the reveal of that. I just, like Katrina and I said, that like I wish he would have been like a character somewhere in the movie. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like we would have seen him like
didn't get-
interacting with somebody or something like that.
We
so
didn't
that,
get a
you know,
Michael Myers like this guy escaped a mental asylum moment, like
Well,
where
but-
we're
or
aware
Dad
that
and I
there's,
both thought
like-
that it was going to end just on the mask. And like, at least I
Yeah.
did for sure.
while it
I
was
thought
burning
that it
on
was
the
just
mask,
going to, yeah, I was just like, oh, he got away. Great. We don't actually know who the fuck it is. Like, we were both in the like, we're never going to know kind of like vibe. But then we were like, oh, they're actually going to tell us.
Here
So
here
it's
comes the
kid. Okay, that
flashback,
makes more
yeah.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. But
Now I
it
do
was
want to
just
go.
like, it was like, okay, yeah, okay, wait, what? Like, it was one of those, like, I don't
Yeah.
know. I don't know if that makes
there's
sense,
a
but-
there it's a debate because there's an argument for keeping the mystique of your killer and keeping the danger of not knowing who this person is. And
Yeah.
also it served the film because there was all those points where the police were assuming it was one person or assuming it was another person, but in actuality it was someone that they didn't even know or even had on their radar. And for me, that kind of helped serve the movie a lot because it was like, oh yeah, no, they never had a chance. Like they had
Yeah.
they never had a chance of figuring out who this person was because this
Well,
is
and
someone
that's-
who has had trauma in this town for a long time. Also, it explains a lot of the kind of things that were mentioned earlier in the film where she was like, oh, this person must know like everybody in the town or must know like all of these people's secrets. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like he's a local. Like that
Yeah.
makes sense. So
Well,
so it
and-
kind of
Was this
answered those
the-
questions.
Was this
But
the-
again, go ahead,
that
Katrina.
they said that there was like a killer in Canada or something? Was this that movie or was it the other one?
I'm
Um
not- I think it might have been this one, but I'm not positive.
So this one had the red herring of the like traveling killer.
Yeah. The Donald
Yeah.
Love's character. Yeah.
Yeah.
He just happened to be at the same place at the same time as some murder that happened.
Yeah.
But I again, I have no problem with who the killer was and that he was the kid and everything else like that. I just wish that like if you're gonna like have that character in there, like that he pop up. I don't need him to like be
Give
sinister
the
or
audience a
weird or
chance
anything
to
like-
guess
give the
it.
audience a chance, just even if he's just a slight one-off conversation character for us to go, oh, maybe it's that guy, you know?
Or like,
That's
or
all
like
it is.
it's a napkin with
When-
like a name on it, or like a receipt, or a license plate, or like something that
Well,
we can like
and-
follow and like go back and be like, oh, there's a breadcrumb. Like, but
Yeah.
there wasn't anything like
I-
that.
I
other
don't-
than,
I
like,
don't
what you
know.
were
That's
Like,
the only
saying.
it
problem
was-
I have with it is it's just that there was nothing to like sit there and go, oh, it could be that guy, but
I
probably
honestly
not.
kind of felt like it was almost like a CSI episode where you get the outline of the killer. Like where because a lot of CSI or like cop
Sure.
shows do that where they give you
Sure.
the outline of the killer and like for example with how I was like okay he doesn't have a beard because he shaved it off and I also knew he was old because his hands looked old and so I was looking for like people who were shaved and old and so when the like coke dealer showed up I was like oh maybe it's him but that would be a little weird because it doesn't make
But that's
quite
the red
a whole lot of
herring.
sense
That's
in
the red
plot.
herring based on that. Because
Yeah,
of
and
that-
so that
of
was the thing is like if
yeah.
you were paying attention earlier in the movie and caught those things, then he's a red herring for the people who were looking for that stuff.
Right.
And it's like,
And I've got
so that's
again,
kind of
I've
well
got no
done
problem with
filmmaking.
anything that. Yeah, no, I've got no problem with how they did any of that stuff. It just show that character at least once somewhere in the movie, have him be a friendly neighborhood guy or something like that, and that's how you don't suspect him at all, you know. And that would be even more fun in a way because then you're just like, oh, it's that guy, you know. That's for me, it would be more fun that way.
I almost
So-
kind of wonder if he was and we just didn't notice,
It could
because
be.
because there was a lot of instances where they were in the police station and people were like tied up in the police station because someone was giving a report, and
Well,
like
that was like
it could have been, because I think that there's a point where there's an old man who's talking to Giles.
That is the husband of the girl that was killed in the very beginning. Yeah.
Right.
So
Okay,
and I told
yeah.
Katrina that too. I was like, well, I wonder if it's that guy, but like I don't think so, but whatever, you know, and it could have possibly been. But anyway, so you know, all that aside, let's talk about some of the nods to the original. To the original 1 and 2 movies. We had probably the biggest reference was to what is this, Garbage Day?
Yes.
Which, you know, Katrina was like, oh, Harrison's gonna love that one.
Solid.
So,
I had to rewind for Harrison
I
because
missed
he
it.
was
I missed
like,
it
he
the
was
first
doing
time.
something.
Yeah,
He was like, he said that he was like having an out of body experience.
Oh,
Like,
right. Yes.
Yeah.
No, it's not a great movie watching experience when there was a literal moment where I turned to my wife and I was like, I feel like I'm 3 inches out of my body while watching this.
jeez.
Um,
There's also an elderly man who's in a like a convalescent hospital or something like that, who's like just catatonic, and then suddenly grabs his grandson's arm and like, you know, screams at him to watch out, you know, and gives him a like a doom prophecy
oh,
about
right.
Santa Claus, which, you know, happened in the first movie too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I thought that was a funny nod. And then we also have the Santa impaling somebody on deer antlers.
Yes. I caught that one while watching, which was fun to see.
Harrison was like, didn't they do that in the original? I was like, yeah.
Yes, they did.
It had been a while since I've seen it, so I was having to try and remember things. And so this was also the other thing about like when did My Bloody Valentine come out? Did it come out after this, or did it come out before?
It came out before. It came out in 2009. The woman who plays the cop in this, Jamie King, she was the girlfriend in My Bloody Valentine.
Okay. So the reason why I'm bringing it up is because even in the trailer, I brought this up, that there's a shot inside of this film that is almost a kind of a mimic of a shot in My Bloody Valentine in the remake.
It's the throwing of the axe.
It's the throwing of the pickaxe or throwing of the axe in this case, where it's this like slow-mo straight to camera shot.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a shot that can be replicated without having to be an homage, but it would be funny if it was. Like it would be kind of interesting if they were actually trying to homage it, which also lends credence to the fact that I believe that there's the sting that plays every time that the Malcolm McDowell's character makes a weird action line, and relating that to Scream's Dewey, Broken Arrow. And so there's a few things in this movie where I can't tell if it was like trying to homage certain
intentional
things
or not. Yeah.
Like for example, the wood chipper, because I don't know if Bill and Ted had come out, or not Bill and Ted, right? Wait, hold on. What is it?
Fargo?
No. I'm talking about versus Evil.
Oh, Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Tucker and Dale.
Well, the most famous wood chipper thing is from Fargo, which came out in the 90s, so it definitely would be probably referential to that.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean,
so there's a good amount of references, and then also just the killer's motivation being almost the exact same as the original killer, and then the thing I mentioned before about how there's an essence of like horniness in the church.
Yeah. There's also one more possible reference when the one girl is choked by the shower curtain before she escapes the apartment and starts running away naked. It's similar to the death scene in Black Christmas where she's strangled with the laundry bag.
Right.
So
yeah.
So that's, those
I
are
have
the
one real quick thing to say about that girl who almost got strangled in the bathtub.
Yeah.
She needs to learn how to fucking run.
You already said that. No, don't get me wrong.
Because
It was ridiculous the way she was running away because she was like always looking back. And don't get me wrong, you're gonna look back and everything
always
like
looking
that. But
back,
like
flailing
to
her fucking
me, if
arms,
you're
falling on the
running,
ground, bent legged. Fucking book it, girl. Like, I
No,
don't
yeah,
care if
no.
you're fucking butt ass
Kate and
naked.
Kate and I agreed while we were watching the film in that we were both like just run. Like
yeah, yeah.
why are you
Because it's
flailing
a
and like
movie and
knocking
she's
on
meant to
doors and
fall
stuff like that?
down and be dumb.
Like just run. Also the
Yeah.
whole
Or the
thing where
fact that,
she
like, why
also when
did
she
she
ran
turn on the
straight into
fucking wood
the
chipper?
yeah, why did she run into like the Christmas tree like the Christmas tree farm
Yeah.
where it was just like I get it, it's a movie, so like things got to
Yeah.
happen for the plot. But also it was the point where the horror movie edged on the border of unbelievable. And
No,
horror
I
kind of does that sometimes, but and you got to be careful and you got to keep the audience engaged.
and this movie I think had
That
some
point in the movie was the point where I had no more sympathy for any of the characters. Because I was like, you're all dumb as shit.
Well,
well, I do
I just think of the Hitchcock refrigerator test, where it's the like you watch a movie and then you go home and then it's late at night and you come out to get a snack at the refrigerator and then you go, wait a minute. And then that's the point when the filmmaker won. Because while you were watching the movie, it kept you engaged, but it took you all the way to the refrigerator for you to realize that something was wrong. But
no.
that didn't happen in this movie. During the movie, there was a lot of like, wait, why? Like, why would you do
No,
that?
and I think your comparisons to Bloody Valentine are good because I did get a My Bloody Valentine vibe from this movie, but to a lesser degree. Like My Bloody Valentine, the remake, is personally my preferential version of that story. Um, I like that movie a lot, and but this movie just did not have that same vibe. It was like it was trying to be like that, but didn't quite reach that. So that it was kind of frustrating in that way. And then it just like, I don't know, it was trying to be too serious, but also inserting all this stuff that was like jokey that didn't work. And so it didn't like you guys said earlier, it just didn't hit the right tone. It was like tonal shifting like badly, not in a good way.
You kind of have to decide if you're making a serious Santa killer movie or if you're going to evoke the ridiculousness of the first two.
Yeah,
Because
exactly.
the first two have some pretty freaking ridiculous stuff sometimes,
I think
which
there's a
honestly
balance
makes
that you
those
could make.
movies kind of fun.
Yeah,
But
I think you could have made a good balance with this. You just have to lean into the ridiculous just slightly more, and I think it would have almost been pitch perfect, but
I
it
yeah,
don't
never
like
reached
bad
that.
horror movies.
oh man,
Well,
they're
you're in for a
they're
bad time because there's plenty of bad horror movies.
they're the juice.
I'm sure
Well,
somebody's gonna be like, well, Halloween's a bad horror movie. Fuck
oh
you.
no, everybody agrees Halloween, the first Halloween movies, like
I
one
don't
of the
know.
best ever.
There's one guy out there that's gonna
Oh
say
yeah,
it.
you know me, I'm one of those that doesn't care for Exorcist. I don't think it's a bad movie. But
Oh
No,
yeah,
I
we
mean,
laid into The Exorcist on that episode.
but anyway, that's all I have to say about this one. Do we want to move it more into Christmas Bloody Christmas?
we could. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I'm gonna say my bit real quick, and then I'll let you guys say your bits. Um, I think this movie held some promise to it. This one started out as a well, didn't start out as the writer director wanted to remake Silent Night, Deadly Night. His story was like this. He wanted the killer to be a robot. And so they were just like, yeah, that's a little too far afield to be a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie. So he made his movie. And that's why this has sort of this
I love the idea that
flavor.
someone said that's a little far afield for Silent Night, Deadly Night.
I mean, it's not I mean, they
When
weren't robots.
we have the toy maker,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, Silent Night,
like
Deadly Night.
the
Yeah,
toy
but if you're
maker
trying
was
to
all
remake
about
the
that kind of
first one,
thing.
but if you're trying to remake the first one, not the
Yeah,
fifth one.
yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I didn't I didn't think this one was terrible. I don't think this one's really great
No.
by any means, but there were some fun bits. There was a lot of tension, like Katrina said. There was a lot of times where you're just like, "Oh my God, hurry up!" Just try to, because the robot's relentless. Once it starts going after her, it does not stop. But that's where it starts leaning into the Terminator homage. There's lots of Terminator overtones, especially at the end where she's crawling away and he's crawling after her.
Hmm.
It was straight ripoff from Terminator, which I didn't hate. I thought it was great. I thought there was lots. To me, I didn't care about the guy in the suit. Um, and as I told Katrina while we were watching the movie, the guy in the suit is Abraham Ben Ruby. He used to be on ER for a number of years, and so it's somebody I was at least familiar with underneath the makeup and everything. But I thought overall it worked more than it didn't. But again, it was just still middle of the road for me. Um, and it's I was telling Katrina because we watched it together. This movie felt more like like a real experience, like you were really watching this happen to real people during the course of their lives. It wasn't so much of a movie as if you were almost watching something like documentary style in a way, because it was like real conversations the whole time. It felt more natural in the way the characters were just talking and existing in this story for the most part. It didn't feel as movie-ish. And I think in part that was kind of bad, because then you just spent a lot like a lot of that beginning, that build up in that beginning, just kind of living with them and not getting to the point, I guess.
Yeah.
And it didn't
Yeah.
feel as fun as it could have been. um
They
but
could have toned it down a little.
yeah, but I
Like
mean, I
there
didn't.
was just a lot of banter in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. So but Katrina, what you mentioned that you didn't hate this one as much. I get your point about the kid, don't get me wrong. um but I can separate kid in a movie getting killed from kid in real life getting killed. So I it didn't bother me as much as it obviously bothered you. um
It was just that, like, it seemed like the father was not great.
right.
And then the mother died. And the kid didn't know about either of those two things happening. He was just excited that there was Santa in his
Right.
living room. And then he opened it, got clothes, and then died.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's fair.
No, of
And
course
nothing in
not.
horror movies is fair. But I was really hoping that the Santa robot would have just
Skipped over him.
walked away. Yeah, but can't be a horror movie without killing a little kid, I guess. But yeah, I didn't like that part. If
Right.
I ever watch it again, I'll probably skip it because it made me sad. Um, I don't know. I don't know why it made me so sad. It was just like, damn, we couldn't really just skip over the little kid. Also, the fact that, like, do you see his death? Do you see
Yeah,
him
yeah,
get cut?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that's why I was like, could we have like had an off-screen squelch? Could we not have not had that? I would have been fine with that.
Yeah.
But also the fact that we saw it was like, really?
No,
I
it was
mean,
pretty brutal.
even modern stuff still does it though. I mean, didn't I'm pretty sure the
Yeah.
last Halloween movie had an on-screen kid death.
Well, this is a modern movie. This one came out in 2022. So,
Yeah.
um,
So
I don't
yeah,
know.
no, I agree with you.
This one was just like kind of brutal to me. But
Yeah.
this one was more fun to me than Silent Night was because it was more, it wasn't, it had better consistency in
Yeah.
tone and like messaging and like things like that. And I thought that, like, despite the two main characters, or at least the one main character, they weren't like as like I could find somewhere in my heart to root for them. I could. Yeah. But for the other one, I was really just like, ugh, uh,
Right.
not this again. Like it was just like you're on a totally wrong note there, lady. But this one was just like also because this woman is like just a normal like person living her day to day, just like trying to get a date and like running a business and like sure she's friends with like I don't know like uh she's not a great person, but I don't
Right.
know.
I mean, none of the people we meet in this movie are great people,
No, they're
but
not. They're not.
No, but they're real people, and that's what I liked about it
Yeah.
too. Was just that these, whereas the
You
ones in
mentioned it when
Silent
we were
Night,
watching it.
yeah, the ones in Silent Night felt more like caricatures. These felt like real people. You might not like them, but they felt like real people. Um,
I think you mentioned it when we were watching it that like they were having like a conversation about his car or something, and you were like,
yeah,
this feels like a real conversation. Like
right,
this doesn't feel scripted.
exactly. And I will say, while I liked a lot of the neon light in this, I felt like it was really overdone.
oh my
In a way
god.
too,
Was
was
it
just
this
because
movie or the other one that had the like gross blue lights? Like
Uh,
because there was one of these movies had a good
strobing
15
blue light.
second
Yeah.
sequence with the cop car lights and the entire scene was just blue.
oh, I
It
don't
was really
The,
difficult for me to
know.
it
watch.
might
Like I
have
don't
been.
usually have problems
This
with
one
like
had bad lighting. I will say that about Christmas Bloody Christmas. There was a lot of points where the lighting was just very
It just made everything
aggressive.
murky. Well, it made
Yeah,
everything
and
murky.
there was I just remember there was a solid point where it was like flashing green and red over and over and over and over and over again
Yeah,
because
over
they
his
were over by
head.
the house.
Yeah.
And that whole sequence while they were over by the house, it was just like it was green and red are not colors that are very fun to have like flashing back and forth.
Yeah.
And I think that Silent Night, the remake, did it a little bit better where they had the one part of the police station lit up in red and then one part of the police station lit up in green. Like I think that that's how you can kind of get away with doing like kind of Christmas lighting inside of your Christmas movie, to kind
Right.
of like get people upset, like kind of offset them. But like it just kind of made me queasy as the lights were flashing on and off, and it just wasn't working very well for me inside of this one.
It just felt like, like I said, I liked the neon lighting, but it was so much and it was everywhere. It was like
Mm-hmm.
every time you were in somewhere,
Oh, her
it was
apartment was
neon
so
lit.
gross.
And it just made everything like so murky in a way where
Yeah.
like it just made things hard to see at times. And so I was just like, okay, this is okay, but like it's too much. Like brighten it up a little bit, show
Hmm.
me show me something that isn't like cast in shadows and
Yeah.
barely lit by these neon lights.
Yeah, but both
So
her like her apartment and the store and a couple other locations like that, I can definitely agree with that.
the toy
There's
store, yeah.
yeah, the toy store. It really the only time that like I felt like the lighting was just right was when they were walking on the street. Like
Yeah, because it
when
was
they're
yeah.
more
doing
street lighting,
yeah.
at that point.
Like it felt
Yeah,
more
I mean,
natural than any of the other locations.
yeah. I mean, for me as a fan of the Terminator series, I didn't hate this one because I thought it was kind of an interesting take on it, killer robot. Um I did think it was kind of stupid. Obviously, I mean, in a real world scenario, we probably wouldn't be actually putting these robots to use in, these former combat robots in a
Oh,
toy
don't say
store
that.
of all things. I know. But it was obviously set up as, a joke the whole time because you have these like commercials on this channel that were all just terrible commercials
Hmm.
about different stupid things and everything. And so it was just like, okay, so I get the joke. and it was just like, I get you're setting this up as just this, hyper like real place, but
Yeah, it was very
I don't know,
satirical.
sometimes,
It was a very satirical
yeah,
movie.
which is fine. I don't mind satire and playing into that stuff. We get that with RoboCop. It was it was
Well,
almost to
that's my
take up
thing. It felt
RoboCop in
more
that.
like RoboCop to me than Terminator.
Oh no, I mean, it's definitely had the most Terminator
I
undertones,
mean,
but
I
I
feel
mean,
like it was a
but
combo of
yeah,
both, but like
yeah, yeah. I
the
mean,
satirical universe they lived in felt
right,
more RoboCop than it felt Terminator.
yeah.
Terminator is
So
just 1980.
no, and I don't disagree with you. I just think that it's this was an okay movie. I thought that the robot getting. I thought it was fun to watch the robot degrade the entire time as he's just getting the crap beat out of him. But he still kept coming.
Yeah,
So it was very.
I kind of felt like he got up like three too many times.
Well,
I
towards
felt
the end there for sure. Like
yeah.
towards the end, I was just like, okay, come on, how much
Like
more can
after
this
she blew up the
robot take?
ambulance on top of him, I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that was good. Like that was a good climax. And then he got up again, and I was like, ugh. Like, of course he gets up again. And then he got
yeah,
up two more times after
yeah,
that, where I was just like,
yeah.
oh my God, please. Like, you already know he gets up. Like, please just kill him.
No, and that's even what I told Katrina too. We were like halfway through the movie. It was like 45 minutes. Literally everybody else had died in the movie. At that point,
Oh,
her
yeah.
her
Yeah.
family, her friend, like everybody had been killed at that point. Like there was nobody else left to die except for her. And I was like, we still have half the movie left. Like this is crazy. Like there's nobody else to kill. And of course, obviously the cops were still around. But it was just like, what are they going to do for the rest of this movie? And it was literally mostly just her running from it. And, and I think that's where it just got a kind of a little long at the end. Because like you said, he just kept getting up. She'd knock him down, he'd keep getting up. And it's like, okay, I get it. He's nigh unstoppable. But at some point you got to be able to stop him. So
And I just the other part of it for me is like the for me the music in the movie was like it felt like the movie was trying to silently say gotcha every time that he got up because there was
right.
always a point where it was like he died and then the music would swell where it was like the hero gets away and then it would be like like you'll go back into the
Yeah.
terror music right after he gets up again and it did that like three or four times and I'm just like okay like you get me like after the first two times but not anymore so
Yeah. They
yeah I
they
and
had you in the
that
first half.
and that's kind of why this movie kind of felt a little sluggish to me is that the beginning felt sluggish because it felt too much like a conversation between two great people for a really long time and then there's a surge of action in the middle where everybody dies and
Yeah.
then the tail end of the film is her running away and him coming up and up again getting knocked down again getting up again
Right.
type of thumping.
Right. What about you, Katrina? You've been quiet here for a bit.
Those guys were talking about Terminator and RoboCop. I don't. I don't know.
Yeah, we're the
Haven't
sci-fis.
haven't really seen those. So
Well,
um
I'm gonna have to get you to
yeah.
watch those soon then.
Um I the Santa I didn't really like him. I liked the
Who?
other
Which
one
one? Oh,
more.
the robot. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really like it. It was just kind of like, okay, you're killing people.
It was funny
Cool.
too. It was funny too because I showed Harrison the trailer for Christmas Bloody Christmas, and we were both kind of like stoked on it because it just seemed like crazy the whole time. It was going to be this crazy ride the whole time. And then it kind of wasn't like that. It would have its
No,
moments.
no.
It would have its moments and then it would chill for a minute. And then it's like, and I get it. You can't keep that frenetic pace the whole time. But like, I don't know, if maybe some editing, like maybe some editing there. I mean, because it's only an hour and a half long movie anyway, but maybe cut
Yeah,
out 10 minutes. You could
yeah.
potentially like get that pace just a little bit faster. and maybe make it, a little bit more frenetic and fun in that way. And I think maybe it would have been potentially a little bit better. Um,
I feel like I
but
know more about her Tinder date than I know about the robot.
oh my God, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, true, true. Yeah, and that
And
is
Yeah.
something that I
What
would have
the
liked to have
fuck
known
was
more
that?
about. That is something I would have liked to have known more about, was about the robot itself, about like all
yeah.
of its like, give us a little aside. Like they told us in the beginning, oh, like, this is this robot that's now been retasked to, be a toy store like mascot, blah blah blah. And I was just like, okay, great, but can you tell us more about this, especially as we're going to get into the movie? Like, could she not find out like I don't know, more information?
Yeah, I was
I
kind of
And
mean,
it
hoping
just
that there was going to be
her
like,
friend did say at like when they went to the toy store that the thing was getting recalled.
right on
yeah,
Monday, and it was just like, okay, if this thing has been like harming people up until this point, and that was the reason why too that it had been recalled, was that it had hurt people at another place. And so it's like, why would you wait until Monday to take it out of the store? Like get it out now before it goes nuts.
It's
yeah.
not
Why
a
would you keep it
it's not
on?
during you have to do it during the work week.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, can't do it on
Man.
Christmas.
So there is one thing that I wanted to mention about the last movie, about Silent Night, that I forgot to mention. It has a rad end song, Silent Night, Deadly Night, by the what is it? The
White coffin,
White
something.
Coffin Terror. Yeah, White
Yeah, yeah.
Coffin Terror. It looks like,
Fuck.
according to Spotify, it's like the only song they have on Spotify. I don't
Yep.
know if they were an actual band or anything else like that, but it's a punk song that rips. It is
Yeah, it's
like,
not bad.
it's
It's pretty
no,
good.
it actually is really good. I really like that song. It was really a lot of fun. And I missed it the first time when Katrina and I were watching it the night before, because they turned it off. Um and then because it was late and we had to go to sleep. But then the next day when you were watching it ended, I was like, what is this? So yeah, so I wanted to mention that because it's actually really fun.
So if there's anybody looking to
credit
get
song.
into the holiday spirit, give that a listen.
Exactly.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, that is Silent Night, Deadly Night by the White Coffin Terror. I
Very
know for sure
jolly.
it's on.
Yeah, very jolly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Christmas Bloody Christmas. Was it was like you said about the trailer, was not what I was expecting. The trailer
Right.
gave it the impression that they didn't lead anything in the trailer to say that it was like a military Santa Claus, and it just kind of felt like, oh, like Robot Santa went haywire, which I think may have actually been more fun if it was just like a toy Santa that just went haywire.
Right.
And then it just started to kill people. Because
Kind of
then
like a Megan situation.
I mean, I've never seen
Yeah.
that movie.
Oh.
Honestly, my brain went to Santa Claus, the Santa Claus 3, actually, with the with the Nutcracker Santa.
Oh no, that's
oh
two.
man.
Or
Oh,
yeah,
man.
maybe 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Santa
yeah.
Claus too.
Yeah, Santa Claus
yeah.
3 is Jack
Yeah,
Frost.
so
Yeah.
my brain actually went to that. So I don't know what that says about me.
It
But
says you have a 2.5-year-old.
that's fair.
Right.
So for me, I was like, oh man, that might have been a little more fun. Because with the military subplot, I was half expecting there to be some kind of like almost like corporate response to this, like where they
Yeah.
like where there would be like a team that came in to like take it down, but then wouldn't do it. Like they would fail, like to be able to take it
Like
down,
the
and
elves.
then maybe she would have had more like she would have had like the main character would have had more opportunity to interact with this like company that created this thing.
It would honestly like be really cool if they had done something like that, where they bring in this like military team, like, just like maybe a 3 or 4 person team, like a tech guy and a couple of guys with guns and stuff like that, and they needed to like, protect her, like not protect her, but they're there to like
It seems like it's tracking you, so we need you to like be the bait while we try to shut it down, like that kind of like, and then of
If
course
we
everything
could write this movie.
and then
I know.
of course everything goes wrong, and then she has to fight him off and kill him anyway.
Yeah.
Which might have been a little more interesting than just having like, I don't know, like Joe Schmo cops like that like basically die immediately.
Yeah.
And so there's just a lot of that inside the movie where it's just there's a lot of setup that just doesn't get resolved. And then there's a whole like we spend so much time with like these three characters and then they just die. And then
Yeah.
and then it's just one character that we spend the rest of the movie with for the most part. And by the end, she just kind of drives away.
Yeah.
It's kind of a weird ending point for the movie. It's
Right.
just Robot Santa's dead. She drives away. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
but no,
I don't think
I
either. I like these movies better than the original, the five. But just barely.
wow.
And I like number one a little bit, but it's just I don't know. It's just not as entertaining for me. I think that there's a good movie in number one that could be done better. I think that if somebody tried to do a more modern update on the original, that
Just
it could
gonna
be it
say,
could be interesting.
just gonna say, it was so good they did it twice.
Yeah. 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 Anyway, so but yeah, I think that these aren't horrible, but know what you're getting when you go into it. They are what they are. But hey, what 3 years for three with bad um Christmas horror movies. Next year we will not be doing any Silent Night stuff. We'll hopefully be doing a little bit
God.
something else. I have an idea for hopefully a better double feature for next year. Um, that I hope that you guys will both enjoy.
I'm just gonna
That
say
doesn't
we've
give a
been
lot of promise.
I'm just saying, just as an aside, we've been talking about how we can write a better Santa Claus killer movie. We might as well just write it. We might as well just make this movie.
That would be funny.
Like we could let us take the mantle of the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise.
I really don't care enough. So y'all can do that. I'll be rooting from the sidelines. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, that's all I have to say about either one of these movies. Do you guys have anything else left unsaid?
I feel like if we dig deep enough, there's gonna be some more Santa killer movies. So I
Oh,
just
I'm
look
sure.
forward to being back here next year for whatever we find.
Uh I hope that I never have to see another one again.
Ho ho hope.
Oh, good Lord. Katrina, I
Fa
do.
fuck you. I don't like these movies.
Okay, that was actually funny. Katrina,
Oh, so
I
my
did
ho
want to.
ho hope gotta but fa la la fuck you.
I
Okay.
mean,
Yeah,
come
because it was
on.
an actual alliteration.
Oh my gosh. Stop it. I'm trying to say something.
Uh
Katrina, you
Mhm.
had said Violent Night, you had considered Violent Night a horror movie. And I had disagreed with you, but according to Letterboxd, in the genre
Letterbox is
section
always
of
right.
it, not necessarily, but it's fairly good.
it's a horror
was
for
They
sarcasm.
kids.
they
It's
It
a
was
horror movie for
sarcasm.
children.
I know. So it says it's a comedy action thriller, which is what IMDb says it is, but it also says horror as one of the genres.
Nice.
Okay.
So I still don't necessarily agree with it.
Is
but
that is
letter
that the is that the
Letterboxd,
asterisk on Thriller?
yeah, the Letterboxd agrees with you. I just wanted to let you know that. So
It says
somebody
that
out
it is a slasher horror and survival horror.
what?
Oh.
Oh, the
Slasher
themes
horror
there.
and there's
Yeah, I
gonna
see
be a
that.
Violent Night too?
Yes, there is.
What? That's dope.
Oh, I mean, I haven't seen it, so
That's cool.
Oh my gosh, you
What?
gotta watch that.
yeah,
We
I haven't
You gotta
seen
watch.
it.
haven't. Go watch it.
Tomorrow. Tomorrow you gotta watch that.
All right.
All right, guys. I am just gonna close this out by saying thank you. And I appreciate both of you guys coming on the show. We're doing this very late at night, just a few days before it needs to release, because that's just how our schedules all align these days. So
I got a
I
second
appreciate
job,
you.
so it's even harder.
Yes, exactly. But you're not going to school right now, so it kind of evens out.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's true. It's true.
but anyway, um,
Silver lining.
but just wanted to let people know that this is the next to last episode of the year. And that in January, I am taking a break from posting new episodes, although I will be recording new episodes during that month. I got to get caught back up. COVID kind of did a number on my motivation. And so I'm trying to get things lined back up. But I have talked to both of the kids about potential side podcasts, not episodes that would be playing here on Creepy and Geeky, but things that we would be doing separately from that. One with Harrison and I separately, and then one with Katrina and I separately. So if we can get those done, you may have a lot more to listen to starting next year. So keep an ear out for that. And we hope you have a good holiday. This is dropping on Christmas Day. So we hope you're all having a good Christmas. And I hope you have a happy new year as well. And we'll see you on the next episode, which is real quick, is our top 10 of 2023. And Dawn of the Dead will be returning again like she did last year for the top 10. And we'll be going through our top 10 horror movies of this last year. So we'll see you next. Well, we'll see you on not Friday. It won't be coming out this Friday. It'll be coming out on New Year's Eve. So catch it then. And we'll see you next time. Thanks again to the kids for joining me. Only one episode is left for this year, and that's my top 10 horror movies of 2023. Returning to give us hers also is Dawn of the Dead, and we had a great time breaking down all the movies we enjoyed this last year. Don't miss it. Thanks for listening. Creepy and Geeky is a part of the Morbidly Beautiful podcast network. Please check out morbidlybeautiful.com/podcasts for more great shows. If you like what you've heard, please consider giving the show 5 stars and a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Also, please share the podcast on social media to help spread the word. Make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast app or at creepyandgeeky.com. Music for the podcast is Gratitude, composed by Jerry Smith. You can follow the podcast on social media at Creepy and Geeky on both Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to follow me, I'm Geek Thulu on Twitter and Blue Sky, and geek.thulu on Instagram. You can support the podcast by ordering teas and more on TeePublic or by donating to the coffee page. All of the links are in the show notes. Finally, don't forget, stay creepy.